really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
That's why it's really important to have a plan. Have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is impermanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and D-gentlemen of all ages. Welcome back to your DGen Roundtable Sunday show, aka the flagship show. We have a very special event for you tonight. We are doing a bit of a deep dive on the Origin Address wallet for PulseChain, and we even have a video clip from Richard Hart, and we want to do a little bit of talk and roundtable discussion discussing which of the Richard Hart coins is going to do best, which has potential to do the least, and whether or not all of it could just be entirely nonsense. Either way, we have an excellent discussion for you. We also have technical analysis to get to in the meantime because, spoiler, Bitcoin just made a new candidate for a 60-day cycle low. And then after that, we also have more articles, including a follow-up to an article involving Tornado Cash that we touched on about a month or two ago. So with that being said, I'm joined by two of my very, very special usual suspects, although actually one of them is less of a usual suspect and more of a specialist, if you will. But first up, we have our co-host for the evening, Mr. Will Stevenson. What's going on, brother?
I was trying to hit the hit the hotkeys, and I was like, "Oh wait, why is it bookmarking my page instead of making me not mute?" Aloha, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels. You are looking at the one, the only, the finest PulseChain Entertainment Center and Information Center, the DGen Roundtable. We are live today to give you some good fucking information, and I'm gonna let you guys know, Mr. Jeff, Mr. Apex Hex here has cooked up quite a stew of fantastic info. We had mentioned a little bit of a teaser of it while over on the F and Hangout with RG3, and RG spoke his mind about some of the things regarding this topic of discussion. But I'm super stoked. I know, right? I was like, oh damn, like he totally took that a different direction than I expected. But that's okay, guys. Go check out the Discourse Syndicate if you want to know what RG3 said about us. Well, not us specifically, but just about the idea of taking peeps at wallets and things and extrapolating information. But without further,
bunch of wallet gazers.
Yeah, exactly. A bunch of voyeurs, for the exhibitionists going around and finding the price appreciation, everything for that. But without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our fantastic panelist, a DGen Roundtable OG, who makes his way in from time to time to talk about some things that are fantastic and excellent. And he is a subject matter expertise in what we're going to be covering today, which is the PulseChain world. Mr. Apex Hex, Mr. Jeff, what's going on, my man? What is new and exciting with you? It's been a while since you've spoken to the audience, hasn't it?
I don't know how I'm gonna follow you up. I might not even talk now after your intro. What's been up? Honestly, during the day, work. When I get off of work, more work as in paperwork. Then I have time at nighttime when I'm suffering from insomnia. Then I get to research about crypto. So just busy, but busy is good. I have a very, very crazy brain. I do much better being busy than not busy.
Oh,
yeah. When I'm not busy, I tend to just go on absolute crazy tangents.
That's like the whole idle hands are the devil's plaything, but
I was about to say it. Yep, you nailed that. You took the words out of my mouth.
Excellent. Well, cool beans. We'll give the folks before we crack into the actual discussion, you want to give the folks at home a little bit of a teaser of what we're going to be covering today?
Yeah, sure. So there's been a lot of speculation about what's going on with the OA address with RH, Mr. Ritchie, and people are speculating what they think is going on if he is buying PulseX and also selling Pulse, and they're always trying to do this to avoid getting detected and trying to make money and this and that and all kind of different things. Or why is he buying PulseX and not buying Pulse or Inc? Or why is he doing this or why is he doing that? It's a lot of whys.
Got it.
And we're going to cover them. We're going to cover lots of whys, like YMCA's in this bitch.
We're going to throw some spaghetti at the wall. We're going to tell some campfire stories, and we're going to try and figure out what the fuck is going on here. And we're going to do a little bit of guessing and extrapolating. Like mentioned earlier on in the video, nothing on this podcast is financial advice. We are speculating what we think might be the case. Now, you should not take that as anything other than just like some assholes on the internet talking about their feelings, because we're not Richard Hart. We don't have a direct line to him. And even if we did, who the fuck knows if he would tell us what's going on? Probably not. But in any case, Zenith, why don't you take us to the next portion of the show, my friend? Which I
absolutely.
Think I
the next portion is the best portion, some might argue, and that is where we say hello to all our friends out there tuning in for the show. It is time for chat shoutouts.
Chat motherfucking shoutouts, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels. Let's do some chat shoutouts. Who we got going on today? I see we've got lots of starred comments here.
Absolutely. First up, we got Centurion54X, aka 54 Cent. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. He says, good afternoon, D-Gens. Good afternoon to you as well. Or evening, wherever you're at in the world right now. After that, we have Tam Tam saying, what's up, fam? Good to see you, Tam Tam. Glad you can make it, as always. Appreciate you each and every time, along with everybody else in here, because we got some of the longtime friends of the channel, including Moonpilled Rational Optics. Says, it's all going to zero, and my dry powder is ready. Damn straight, son. It's all going to zero, but at the same time, we're gonna buy it the whole way down. Alrighty, up next we have one of our very own. He's a little bit busy tonight, but he is lurking a good bit, and that is Brendan from the DGen Roundtable. Good to see you, brother. Let us know your thoughts on all the stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight. Just because you're in the chat does not mean you do not have anything to add to the conversation. You have a lot to add to the conversation, and we're going to continue to shout it out all night from everybody. Speaking of which, we have another one from Centurion54X. He says, Bitcoin weak on the weekly close. More blood till July? Question mark. What do you guys think of Pulse retesting all-time lows with OA trying to hold it up? That is a good question. We'll definitely cover that one tonight. We're going to try to dovetail it into the end of the Richard Hart clip that we have for you. I think it'll be a good spot for that. Up next, we have Hex Glenn saying, hey, all. Hey, Glenn. Good to see you, brother. After that, we have another friend, Large LFG. Let's go. That's right. We're putting on a great show, and we're glad you all made for it. Mr. Angry Twinkie says, back for another one. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good to see you as always. I know you probably have a few thoughts on this. I don't know if you're as much of a wallet tracker as some other folks or do that sort of stuff, but I know you like fundamentals, and I hope we can at least touch on that a little bit tonight. But regardless, good to see you as always. And last but not least, we have one of our very own as well, the Ascending Man, aka Nate McGettit. He says, this is going to be a good one. Yes, sir, it is. We're going to make this a very, very good one for everybody. So, I believe that is it. Gentlemen, are we ready to go?
Let's fucking hop right on into it.
I'm ready when you are.
Alrighty. Jeff, this is the part where I pretty much just turn it over to you. So before we get into the technicals, can you give the folks at home a brief synopsis about what the events have been going on lately around PulseChain and specifically the OA wallet? Because before this, there was a lot of chatter about the OA wallet buying up Ethereum at about like $3,400, and now we have some new news, it sounds like.
I think he made different buys for ETH, and I think, I might be wrong here, but I think when you average it all together, I think the dollar cost average amount was like 36 and some change around that. So I think he dropped like 800K and got 177 plus thousand. But yeah, they've had a lot of chat lately about what's going on, and the OA stopped buying because of this or the SEC case and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you see him start buying up PulseX randomly, but then you start noticing that the price isn't appreciating. People say, oh my God, Richard does not know what he's doing. Why, he is wasting this money and not even pumping the price. This fucking moron. When it is not the case. And Richard said this, excuse me, a few times himself. He said what smart whales do is they buy in small clips and they spread it out through different pools. Therefore, they don't suffer slippage and they do not create price appreciation if they are trying to accumulate. So let's just say I have a theory that maybe July 8th, maybe my lawyers are telling me possibly, hey, maybe we're looking really good. This case might get dismissed. I'm making this shit up, by the way, guys. But let's just say, so what am I going to do? This is my last chance to possibly buy up a bunch of shit. So am I going to go dump a bunch of money in it and make the price appreciate as much as I can? No. I want to keep the price as low as possible, but keep putting in chunks and chunks and chunks to buy it. And there's also a bunch of different other theories I've come up with. Ones that we'll go over that are a little more even crazy than that have to do with farming. I don't even know where to start. You have somewhere else specific you want me to start, or do you want me to just ramble?
That's pretty much what we do here. We ramble and ramble. So let's talk about. Do you feel like we covered the Ethereum buy enough? Is there much more to say on that?
Yeah, that's pretty simple. I mean, he bought the ETH ETFs, got approved. Supposedly they're going live early July. Pretty cut and dry. Supposedly a fifth of the amount of funds that were allocated to Bitcoin will be allocated to ETH. So even a fifth is still going to be insanely good price appreciation, I believe. And that's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. So let's get into the more recent stuff, specifically with like the PulseX buying.
So, okay, basically, if you go look, and I studied the wallet for probably like a good 6 hours yesterday. And I went back a month, and I'm looking at it right now. So if you look back about when I say you, I'm talking out loud. So we're looking at around on the 11th. So let's see here. Why is Richard approving transactions and executions on things like 9-inch, on things like 9mm? Because he's obviously farming. Because if you look back, I think it was probably around 6 months ago, he did the same thing, but I believe that's when he was importing tokens to their dexes. And I kept trying to see, well, why would he use someone else's dex and not his? I think what his whole plan is to use other competitive dexes, to use them as a source to gain yield, and then be able to take their source of stables out in liquidity and put it into his own system. He's already said PulseX will be the best dex because it has the most liquidity, and now he's even getting extra liquidity from other dexes. And so if you go look, you'll see all these executions. And then right after, so for example, you'll see, okay, 9-inch execute function. Then right after, you get 4 wrapped ETH. And then boom, you see another one, 10 wrapped ETH. Then you see another one, 33. Then you see one from 9mil. Then you see one from Coinbase, not Coinbase, Base. But obviously that's not a PulseChain or a PulseChain dex. But my point is this: he's farming all these coins. Here's another one, 27 ETH. I think what he's doing is he's taking these other dexes' liquidity, and people are trying to speculate why is he buying PulseX? Well, PulseX, I believe, has higher yield. If you just for example, look at the 9-inch farm. I believe the PulseX to BBC APR is like 55%, and the one to Pulse is like 30. PulseX has the higher APR. But you're thinking, okay, well, you have to worry about impermanent loss, right? Well, when don't you have to worry about impermanent loss? You don't have to worry about impermanent loss if you have a fucking jabillion coins and you can control the ratio. So
I thought you were going to say single-sided staking, like the intro to our podcast every single time.
Will, that is the answer for a mere mortal like you and me who are not worth billions of dollars. But if I was a genius and I saw a chance to farm fucking 60, 70, 80% pools, and one of the coins I was farming, I owned 90% of it. I could control, which those aren't the coins he moved. So the 90% didn't move. But I'm saying he also bought a shit ton. So he has the power to manipulate the price in a good way for holders. For the holders of his coins, which that should be his fiduciary responsibility to appreciate his coins. No, I hope everybody else does well, but I get it. Richard probably thinks fuck y'all's coins. I'm worried about mine. Look, I feel you. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of farming personally because I hate impermanent loss. But if I was able, if I created one of the coins in the pool and I could just buy that thing up and I have the funds to do it and I could get the ratio back to where I started the farm, I'm getting insane APY with 0 impermanent loss, which is, I'm surprised I haven't heard anybody say this yet. So a lot of people are saying, well, why is he buying a PulseX? Oh, it's because it's deflationary. And it very well might be. Richard might be saying, oh, well, PulseX deflationary. And, there's 20 trillion of them. So, they're really cheap. And that could be. And also the ratio, PulseX from SAC price is a lot lower than Pulse. So that could be it too. And maybe I'm I'm completely off here, but I keep looking at this execution, 9mm base. Well, base doesn't matter because it's not, a PulseChain DEX, but 9mm, fucking 9-inch, and you keep seeing 20 wrapped ETH, 30 wrapped ETH, more ETH. Like you keep seeing this. Well, it's kind of staring you in the face. He's farming on these protocols, taking their liquidity, and put it on his own. Or that's what I think's going on.
Okay, so
could be wrong. Could be wrong.
I mean, maybe, but at the same time, the data doesn't lie. Like, the beautiful reason that we can do all of this is because we operate on blockchains where the data is publicly available, and you can see pretty much anything for the eternity of however long the chain exists. So that's why we have access to this data, and we have the ability to see it. Granted, there are absolutely ways that you can try to kind of like circumvent this and try to get some sort of privacy back into it, whether you use a mixer, which the US federal government personally hates, but stuff like that, different wallets, mixing your transactions, having multiple accounts and trying to send it to different places. There's ways to do it, but at the end of the day, we do have a pretty good idea of what's going on with these addresses. And to summarize it, it sounds like there's been a large purchase of PulseX, there's been a lot of farming going on, and there's transactions of upwards of 30 wrapped ETH at a time, pulling liquidity out of other DEXs, and then not necessarily even knowing where it's going, but it sounds like there's a good probability that it's going back into the farms over at like PulseX or something.
Yeah, I think it's going back into those farms. And also, so a lot of times you'll see him, excuse me, you'll see right when he approved, like, so right here, here's one, like 33. If I added them all up, I think it came to over, I think it was like 170 ETH that he got just from doing this. So, and that's just from the PulseChain layer Texas, not like base. Like you see, he's farming some coin named Elephant, another one called Tate, and he's just racking in ETH off of this. So he takes it, he swaps it over to wrapped ETH, he bridges it over to not bridges it over, his wallet receives it, and then I think he's swapping it for stables and buying up his coin. But you do see a ton of wrapped ETH purchases right here, 10K, 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 20K, 10K. So he's using it, like his exact words were, a smart whale would spread out the pools, and literally this is 10,000 in USDC, 10,000 in DAI, 10,000 in wrapped ETH, all of them, and then another one right above it in Tether. All of them of these are within minutes. So yeah, it's to me it's pretty obvious. He's using other DEXs to take their liquidity and use it to pump his own price. So he's not even having to use SAC funds right now. I don't remember how much PulseX he's accumulated. He just put a couple more $1 million into it, and it's not costing him a penny because he's getting it from yield. So he's eating up these whale supply, or whoever's selling. It doesn't have to be a whale, but he's eating up the supply at the low. I don't want him to buy right now and appreciate price. I mean, sure, yeah, I don't, yeah, I do. But right now, the more important goal for him is he's going to keep getting free yield and using the free yield to eat up supply. Now the SAC funds will be used when it's go time. When he said, okay, I've done the TA, I've looked at the metrics, I see who is out, and I have accumulated what I need to accumulate. Now I have a separate fund that is for price appreciation, where you're going to see big chunks, 100K, 500K, million, where he's not worried about slippage. He is worried about price appreciation. That's what it's for. So some funds are used to accumulate and buy it up to get off the market, and some are going to be for price appreciation.
It seems like the difference between those two actions is not a difference in kind, but a difference in degree. What I mean by that is that it is the same action, which is that you're pressing the green buy button. However, it's the amount, and it's the amount per transaction as well, which is that if you're trying to defend a low as a whale, what that typically means is that you have identified a floor price that you don't want to see the asset go below. And whenever it gets near that price or starts to dip just below it, there usually is an injection of some capital or some sort of movement of value from some other asset into that asset to drive up the scarcity. Again, this is more of like in my opinion, it seems more of like something that is automated and done in very, very small increments. But then the other half of the coin, which you were talking about, which when you try to price appreciate, it is the massive, it's that yeet, it's that full force, just shoving that large amount of money into there, which then kind of like shocks the market enough and affects the liquidity pools so that it actually imbalances it so that the price goes up a noticeable amount. So, I mean, exactly. Right now, everything you're telling me right now, it seems that what we're seeing is largely defending of price, and arguably it's not even defending of a certain price, but it's just it's mitigating sell pressure, in my opinion. Because if you look at the charts, like, we've been on a bit of a downslope for probably almost a month, since mid-March on PulseChain. Yeah, so that's like 3 full months right there. Granted, there were a few places where we stopped periodically and chopped sideways, or we even recovered at the beginning of June and did appreciation up, I'll call that like 15-20% before we've gone back down again. So it's, no one is willing to, or Richard Hart specifically in this case, is not willing to really get things moving in a certain direction. It's more of just watching where the market goes and then just trying to like nudge it a little bit. It's not trying to redirect, but just nudge.
Well, I'm of the opinion that, and this also might be wrong, I'm not a big TA guy, so I don't know what I'm talking about in this aspect, but I don't even know if he's trying to defend the price, because if you scroll back for 6 months, he's been farming and pulling this ETH for a while. Now it's got a lot more rampant lately, but he's been doing it for a long time. That's what tends to make me think, okay, well, shit, all of a sudden out of nowhere, he's been doing this the whole time and the price has been around the same. So why now? And that's what kind of makes me think, oh, hey, maybe my 11 lawyers that are the best lawyers on planet Earth, maybe they're giving me some good news. And this might be my last opportunity to buy up a heavy supply for cheap. It's pure speculation.
I honestly, that's a large part of what all this is, or it's trying to attribute other forces and values and ideas onto what is effectively really just 2 decisions, or 3, I guess, which is buy, sell, or do neither. And whether it is trying to just accumulate capital on the way that price goes down, you're still buying. Whether you're trying to defend price, still buying, or you're trying to appreciate, still buying, just different amounts, different degrees. It is trying to understand the strategy behind it, is trying to impugn these sort of like ideas or a willpower onto very binary actions almost.
Correct. And it doesn't, so say I'm wrong and the SEC on the 8th has said, nope, we're not dropping shit. Then okay, cool. Well, guess what? The wallet still has $2 million in stables and wrapped ETH. So like it's I mean, it's a win-win. I mean, if it goes lower, cool. Richard's like, all right, fuck it. More time for the ETH ETF to pump and I can buy coins for cheaper. But
let's chat about that real quick. So you mentioned the July 8th date. Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, I got a screen share for you.
Go ahead.
I know I've been harping on this one for a while, but this is the timeline of events for the Richard Hart SEC case. Back on July 31st of 2023, the SEC brought suit to Richard Schuler, aka Richard Hart. And then since then, we didn't get a whole lot of action or information from Richard Hart until we got to about April 8th, when we were notified that he had his legal team already assembled, which is the All-Star East team playing in the NBA All-Star game here. And that is when they filed their motion to dismiss. After that, we are approaching what we're talking about now, which is the July 8th deadline. This is the deadline for the SEC to respond to the motion to dismiss. After that, we have another time frame of August 22nd, which is that is the deadline for Richard Hart's legal team to reply to the SEC's response to the motion to dismiss. And then, if nothing else changes after all of these different deadlines, we're moving towards October 24th. This is the showdown hearing in Brooklyn, New York City, where we're going to have oral arguments before the court on the motion to dismiss. This is not, I don't know if we've been stressing this enough, but this is arguments before a court. This is not a trial. This is nothing more than a hearing, honestly. So it's a way for the court to attain information and also hear information from both sides. Whether or not we're going to get an official judgment out of it, it's unclear. And honestly, it's still unclear if it's going to happen on October 24th. These are all government set dates, and they're subject to moving on either side. So obviously people are trying to show up in New York City for this case. But right now, what we're talking about in regards to movement in the OA address, one of the speculative points is that we're moving towards the deadline for the SEC to respond to the case. And it's possible that they drop the case and they actually just either get the case dismissed or the SEC chooses not to pursue this anymore. That's the deadline we're looking at now. So any action up before this deadline makes sense as preemptive action before news will actually get priced to appreciate exponentially. What do you think?
Yeah, nailed it. Speaking of his lawyers, his legal team, like 2 of the lawyers used to be SEC attorneys. One of those 2, I believe, was the head SEC attorney, and his I don't want to say his main lawyer. I don't know who the main guy is, but one of the 11 lawyers last year won #1 litigator in America. So like he's not messing around.
Spending that
no,
money to win.
You know what? Let me ask this. So what is their incentive to drop it instead of going to oral arguments? Because I mean, Richard can't countersue. I mean, I guess you could do whatever you want, but he can't. Can he hold the government in negligent and have to? Can he sue them for like lawyer fees or something, or is there no reason for them to drop it? Like, okay, cool, yeah, we'll go to oral argument in October.
So yes and no. At large, the government typically has what's called qualified immunity, which it's qualified immunity and also Chevron deference as a case, which is that regulators are only told what to do when it comes to enforcement of things, and they can't really be held responsible for how they choose to enforce it. What that means is that you can't really sue them for doing their job poorly, because at the end of the day, they're just trying to do their job. So you can either take that from the humble public servant who's just trying their best, or you can take it from these people who have unfettered authority that was granted to them possibly unconstitutionally by Congress, not willing to do its own job. But either way you look at it, when it comes to cases like this is something very similar to what we saw with the debt box case back in, I want to say that was February and March. So the debt box case was especially egregious because what it was SEC agents effectively lying to the judge of the court to get actions taken against the people that they were suing to seize funds, claiming that this is funds from outside the United States, when in fact it was all actually transactions amongst U.S. citizens. So they lied about the information, and then when they were asked about it again, they doubled down and misconstrued and just misinformed the judge to the point where the judge actually outright dismissed the thing with prejudice. And then that was the point where I remember I was talking with Nuclear Herbs on Twitter, because he is also the foremost PulseChain lawyer right now. And I was like, these actions seem downright, dare I say, criminal. And he goes, yeah, but at the same time, you can't bring criminal charges to like government agents in the course of doing their job because of the protections that are in place. The only repercussions that you can get in regards to those kind of actors is that they have to either be held responsible by their own bar association or their own organization. In the debt box case, we did see that those specific SEC agents were actually, they resigned. However, I mean, if you can speak corporate a little bit, that's pretty much like, hey, you should save face and resign. Otherwise, we're going to have to fire you. So they resigned. That part is speculation, but it's pretty commonplace. When it comes to the SEC case here against Richard Hart, I went on a bit of a rant on the effing Hangout the other night when someone asked about this, which is that the SEC is on a losing streak. Under the leadership of Gary Gensler, the SEC has tried to regulate through the courts. What I mean by that is they're trying to sue people and really enforce that way, as opposed to writing regulations and then passing them under advisement of either advisors, Congress, or input from the public and corporations. So when we have a long laundry list of big losses for the SEC, this could be one more potentially humiliating loss. At the same time, though, it doesn't seem like the SEC has been willing to course correct much on how they're doing things. And if anything, it seems like Gary Gensler might be a little annoyed at how things are going, especially in the crypto movement, which is like, I reference back to the Ethereum ETF launch times, which is that this is definitely reading and a lot of speculation. But at the same time, Gary Gensler, we're approaching the ETF announcement date. And then we get Gary Gensler at like 9 o'clock in the morning, be like, hey, there's going to be an announcement today about this. So like, keep your eye open. And then everyone's waiting just on the edge of their seats through the entirety of the day. And then like 2 minutes before the close of business, the guy's like, yeah, we had to delay it. Expect anything within the next 6 hours. So then people are like, okay, I guess it'll be within 6 hours. And then 45 minutes after that, he just comes out and says, oh yeah, we approved all the Ethereum ETF stuff.
It's just like, it was just like a fucking stack of papers sitting in some assholes like those little door collector things where you like put all the messages and whatnot, the corporate mail. And yeah, they're just waiting on signatures. They were just or they were just sitting there like shooting hoops or something, and like, oh yeah, we should sign those things or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, the reason that I bring that up, exactly, sports ball. the reason that I bring that up is that Gary Gensler has very, very publicly come out and talked about how he believes that crypto is full of hucksters, scammers, and fraudsters, and that there's in his opinion, a large amount of crime that goes on through the use of cryptocurrency, which, by the way, is factually incorrect. It's like less than 3% of all financial crimes are perpetuated with a cryptocurrency or exchange of any kind.
Yeah.
And it's just another data point where it's like it appears that he's not happy with the way that things are going, but at the same time, he's not willing to change his own strategy, because that will require admitting that the strategy up until this point has either been ineffective or incorrect. And the reason that I say that he, as the head of the SEC, can be displaying these things and also have an undercurrent that is moving against him is because you got to remember, he is one of 5 chairs of the SEC. He just happens to be in the chair that is the main one and the front man for the SEC. So on a lot of these decisions, they come down 2 to 3 either way, and it seems like the other chairs are fighting him, but the other chairs are not very publicly vocal, nor do they really put out statements going against whatever the head, aka Gary, is doing. So that was a long way of me saying that no, I don't think the SEC is going to be dropping the case, and if anything, they're going to keep fighting this in tooth and nail until Gary gets removed at some point, possibly like, I don't know, if Trump gets elected and decides to replace Gary with someone else. So,
is there a possibility of the judge dismissing the case before oral arguments, or no?
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Judges, I mean, the legal system gets kind of funky because at the end of the day, the judge is just a person in a chair with the authority to do things. Whether they are political actors, they're supposed to not be. They're supposed to just be a good judge. However, unfortunately, with the game theory and the prisoner's dilemma that is the political system, it's like, yeah, a lot of these judges are appointees of specific people for different reasons. So the point is that I'm gonna have to look into the judge on this case, but could they at literally any moment dismiss the case if they think it does not meet the merits or is not worthy of seeing their courtroom? Yeah, they can absolutely do that anytime. If they also see something that is very weird, but they still just want to see it in the courtroom, they can put it in the courtroom regardless and then leave it up to whoever is the convening authority at that point.
Interesting.
Like, I mean, it's a common saying with a lot of the other stuff in the political makeup of the country, which is that our system is the worst, except for all the rest. They're much worse. Like, it's a flawed system, but it's the best we got. And honestly, it's when it works well, it works very well. When it doesn't work well, it's not completely catastrophic, but it's not good. Just saying.
Well, yeah. I agree.
Not much you could say about it.
It sucks. There's nothing better. Oh well. Here we are.
Here's
We've
the
got
situation we're in.
AC. We've got taxes. We've got toll roads. We have all the good stuff in life that the folks want. We've got,
Sports
we've got
ball.
Wendy's. We've got sports ball. We got everything you could ever want. And the small price to pay for that is a legal system that kind of sucks a lot of the time. Oh well, what are you gonna do? Stay out of the law. Boys and girls, don't get sued, don't get fined, don't get married, don't get divorced, stay out of the courtrooms, and you'll have a good time. That's my actionable advice for the folks at home who are wondering, hey, so yeah, so with all this speculation and with all this information, with all this who's and what's the actionable advice for the folks at home that are watching right now? What can people do with this information? Basically, oh shoot, is that super loud for you guys? Can you hear the machines behind me?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. I'm in the middle of a radio transmitter room right now, so it might get a little bit loud in here, and I might have to mute myself more often. But anyways, let me know if it gets too loud. But what I was asking is, like, all the stuff that we're discussing. What's the actionable stuff for the folks at home, right? Obviously, you've got the whole you can buy, you can sell, you can do neither, right? That's what most of it all boils down to. At the very end of the day, do I buy more? Do I sell? Or do I sit tight with my hands where they're at without, fumbling bags, or also without losing money? What do you guys think are some of the justifications behind each of those 3 actions? I'm going to toss it to Zenith first. Or actually, you know what? I'll go ahead. I'll start it off since it's my question. I will say that for the folks at home who who are listening to all this and they're seeing Richard Hart buy his own coins. It's been said by Sami a whole bunch of times. Your friend Sami, shout out to him. There's a billionaire who likes to buy his coins. We know he likes buying his coins. He has proven he likes buying his coins. The coin's price is very low, and he's fighting the government, and there's a whole bunch of wallet activity going on. So with that information, we know that the coin prices are low. We know that this dude has bought them in the past, and we can't really expect him to buy in the future because past performance is not an indicator of future expectations or whatever. However, and this isn't financial advice, but it's like we can inference what we think might go on. I'm quite certain that the price of, like, if there's a billionaire who likes something, then it would probably behoove me to also get into that something because he probably made a lot of money for a reason, and he's probably looking to spend his money on things that he likes. So that's just like my little inference. Now, the reason to sell, okay? Reasons to sell. Some are, oh no, the government's coming after Richard. That's a reason to sell. Or like if you don't believe in this, if you don't believe in the system, if you think everything is spent, then that'd be a reason to sell. Cool beans. That about covers that. I'm gonna give that one a lot less thought than I gave the buying one. And then the reason to sit on your hands is because you're indecisive and you don't know what to do and you need someone else to tell you what to do. So that's when you sit on your hands. So I've covered all three of the things for the folks at home to do. Can you guys think of anything else that I have missed? Ready, set, go.
So we're talking about trying to analyze the OA address doing things. Like you've stated, this is a billionaire who shows that they like purchasing their own product. They are on record and also have shown actions stating that they are in this for the glory and that they don't really need anybody else's money, that they're actually doing this thing because they want to either appease the ego, build for a better future, whatever it is. The point is that this is not about the money per se. So does it make sense that this person would continue to try to stick with a strategy they've already, put some effort into? Yeah, that makes sense as well. When it comes to all the SEC stuff, as far as you, the viewer at home, again, this is not financial advice, but you have a very clear timeline, like I showed earlier, which is that we have a timeline of when the motion to dismiss was filed, when a response from the SEC is due, when a response from Richard Hart's team is due, and when the actual showdown is. Those are four very distinct calendar points, which you could theoretically construct a strategy off of, which is that if you believe that the case is going to get dismissed, then that means that there's probably like two of those points where that case can get dismissed at more than likely. Because government loves waiting till the last minute to do things because the process is the punishment sometimes. So first up, July 8th. That is the date that the SEC owes a response to the motion to dismiss. At that point, they could just vacate the case. Second one is October 24th. That is when we actually have the hearing before the judge. So it's either that day or probably within a week's time frame of that, you might get a decision by the court or by the SEC about what's going on. That is if you believe it's getting dismissed. If you believe that the SEC is going to continue to take these claims to court and try to actually go whole hog on this, that means that, it was August 22nd, excuse me. That is the deadline for Richard Hart's reply to the case, which is that at that point, you're pretty much going to get the response to the SEC. And at that point, Richard Hart's team is going to be letting people know, like, hey, we see your points, we're willing to fight you over it, or we don't understand what you're doing, we're still going to fight you over it. Either way, these are all specific dates in time that you can set as news events, which might have a noticeable appreciation or depreciation on price. So if you are trying to build some sort of strategy at home, having this sort of calendar is honestly worth more than its weight in gold. Overall, for the average PulseChain investor, though, who probably did the sacrifice phase, has just been DCAing over time, it's very unfortunate that really this is the reason that the price has dropped as much as it has and that has not appreciated as much as a lot of people speculated that it would. But at the same time, there could be a blessing in disguise, which is you have more time to DCA into the PulseChain ecosystem because it is artificially depressed by all the news events going on.
Yeah, nailed it. So, as y'all, I don't know what will happen, but I can tell you what I think is going to happen, and both of y'all touched on it. You have a billionaire who likes to buy his own coins. So let's do some fun math. So let's say ETH does a 2x. All right, that's 10K ETH. 10K ETH at 177,000 ETH. It's $1.77 billion. So now people tend to not, they tend to look at market cap a little too much, I think. Excuse me, fighting a cold. So as far as price appreciation, you want to look at liquidity. And Richard's went over this formula before about doubling half the poolside liquidity, then you square the price. In the same exact way, if you take that math and you apply it to the Uniswap price appreciation formula, that the numbers are identical. So the formula is correct. So let's see right here. Right here in stables, we're looking at Pulse total liquidity. When you're looking at Pulse, you're looking at about $35-ish million. That's not accounting some of the other bullshit, but it's stables, it's wrapped ETH, stuff like that. So let's do the math. So we take this, and now let's say you half it. So once you half it, now we're looking at around 17.5 million. So if we increase the liquidity by a number, what happens to the price appreciation? It's squared by what you increase the liquidity. So if liquidity is 17.5 million and somebody has 1.75 billion, what is that? That's 100x in liquidity. So what does that do to price? What is 100 squared? That's 10,000. Of course, you will have sellers and you will have other things, but you also have people watching and people who are also buying and chasing green candles. But people are going to dump, people are going to dump. Yeah, some people will, but you have to understand, a lot of these whales are not going to be able to dump. Have fun dumping with $17.5 million in liquidity. Like you will nuke yourself. Like you can't. I mean, you can, but you're gonna lose a lot of your funds. So just for fun math, just for the fun of it, to 10,000x, you need 1.75 billion. And what is Richard gonna have if ETH hits 10K? 1.75 billion. Then he could say, once again, you idiots missed the first 10,000 on Hex. Now you missed another 10,000x on my products. Y'all are idiots. I tried to tell y'all. And like you said, he's in it for the glory. Like that's just SAC funds. Richard is a billionaire without the SAC funds, or at least I think he is. He could be a fake and he could be broke as fuck. I don't know, but I really doubt it. See, yeah, I doubt it. So, yeah, simple math, and that's just Pulse. If you really want to get even more into liquidity, go look at like PulseX and Hex. As far as their pools, they're heavily tied to Pulse, but their pools with like DAI and stables and ETH is super low. So if like I think the other day I did the math, the Hex liquidity pools when it comes to stables and wrapped ETH was like 190K. You half that, you look at 95K. So like 10x that, 100x the price. But supposedly people are saying to use the entire liquidity supply. I don't know exactly how that works, but just to play the safe card, that's how you could do it. So right now, Hex, you're looking at Hex's liquidity. By the way, Hex has the lowest liquidity out of Pulse, PulseX, Inks, and Hex. Hex is at 17 mil. Okay, that's 17 mil total. Have a 17 mil, you're looking at what, 8.5? That's 8.5 million. So you add 80.5 million. So 80 million bucks, that's a 10x of liquidity. It's 100x the price. So $80 million of buy pressure with 100x Hex. It has the lowest liquidity. And Richard just said himself, what's a dollar on the way to $100 for Hex? And I'm not saying to go to $100. I don't know, but I know he wants it to. And like I said, that's 80 million bucks. That's not a lot. I mean, it's a lot for me, but it's not a lot for Richard. He could do that. He could do that 10 times over. And that's just SAC funds. Who says Richard's like, you know what, fuck it. I'm worth 10 bill. Okay, I did the 1.75 billion from the ETH SAC funds, and now everybody's dumping. Okay, you know what, fuck it. I'll throw another billion in it. I don't care. If I got 9 billion instead of 10 billion, I'll be all right. We don't know what's going to happen. But I'm saying, like he said before, and when you look at the math, it's right in front of you, staring in the face. He said it's very easy to appreciate price. It is not as hard as people think it is. I've seen people online doing the math, and they're wrong. I had one guy saying, "Oh, well, the liquidity is 40 billion. So if you 10x that 100x price, well, no, you got to take half the liquidity. It's half the bid side. So no, whatever number you're coming up with, it actually takes half that amount to pump it. So it really is a lot easier to pump the price than I think people are giving it credit for."
True. Speaking of price appreciation and across the rest of the Richard Hart products, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, I do have the Richard Hart clip that we've been teasing up until this point. So this comes to us from AnonRoy02 on Twitter, saying this is why Richard Hart added a buy and burn to PulseX and not to Pulse. This is why Incentive Token has a halving and Pulse does not. Richard Hart has more effective positive reinforcement loops on his tokens that run on PulseChain than the L1 itself. So, with that being said, Let me know if you guys do not hear this.
The network isn't what matters. The endpoint or what matters. Who makes more money? Amazon, Netflix, or Comcast? Well, you couldn't get your Amazon and your Netflix to the user unless it went through Comcast, but Comcast makes less money because the substrate, the fucking dumb pipe in the middle, is worth less than the valuable fucking endpoint that's closer to the money. And this stratification of value capture exists in all fucking industries. And so this concept that your coin's going to be worth more if you're the fucking layer one is stupid. So no, in fact, being a layer one fucking coin is not actually what makes a fucking value proposition for people that buy and hold a thing.
There you go.
Have you ever watched that whole video?
I've not watched that one in particular. Which one is that?
I don't have it memorized, but I've watched it a few times, and he just destroys this dude for a good hour. It's a good one to watch.
Yeah, back in the days of Richard Hart destroys people on stream. Yeah.
What were we saying?
No, I'm just saying, like, this is what we got. He makes the great analogy, which is that if you have, like, who's worth more, Amazon or Comcast? Amazon would not exist without the networking that Comcast laid out. However, the product or company that is Amazon does way more revenue and just has more value in general than Comcast does, even though Amazon could not exist without Comcast.
Correct.
So he makes this exact same comparison to the blockchain, and like this tweet is saying is like, there's a good chance that PulseChain is not going to be the token that appreciates the most or has the most value attached to it, because it is just the network, and then people can build the value on top of that base thing. So the things that were built on day zero were effectively PulseChain, incentive token, and then I guess Hex was built even before that, or the eHex version, but now it exists as Hex on PulseChain, or just colloquially known as just Hex now. But the point is that I think a lot of people have been speculating that PulseChain is going to be the token that appreciates the most, because not just these other 3 tokens from Richard Hart exist on it, but because all of the projects at large that exist due to it. I mean, like, there's a lot of people that build just on the network itself, and then there's a lot of people that build using the PulseChain token as a base for whatever it is that they do. So first thing that comes to mind for me is shout out to Black Sheep Crypto of the DGen protocol. Their GOAT token is built on the PulseChain token itself, which is that you put in the PulseChain token to mint GOAT token, and your Pulse token is now locked in whatever vault or system that they have. So that Pulse is actually a part of their protocol, as opposed to just like a new protocol or thing that's built on top of it, like any of the other stuff that's going on, whether it's NFTs, maybe some GameFi projects. Like, they don't have to use the Pulse token itself, but they are using the network, and Pulse is the gas token for it.
For sure. If we're talking about Will, if you want to talk, you're muted, buddy.
I was just gonna say, yeah. There's also like a 5% fee on, or not fee, but some sort of like removal of the pulse from the process when they do this this little what do you call it, when you buy the GOAT token. There's a 5% like in and a 5% out. So there's always going to be pulse trapped in the GOAT token system. So the price of GOAT over time, like from all the buys and sells, it slowly creeps up. You know, I think when I first started buying it, it was like 1.25 pulse per every GOAT token, and right now it's almost at like 1.5 pulse per GOAT token. So that's just like measured in terms of GOAT, and obviously, you know, the price will fluctuate as there's more buyers and sellers. But there's people that can take advantage of the minting and redeeming feature, that whenever like it drops below a certain threshold, then they can buy it off the market and then mint it or redeem it for the other, and then like keep repeating until it brings the price back up to whatever the healthy market price is. But yeah, shout out to the DGen protocol guys, Black Sheep and Dev Donnie over there. They've got some kick-ass stuff going on.
For sure. The point is not to necessarily wax poetically about the beauty of the GOAT token, but it's more of to get back to the idea that PulseChain is where we operate now. But if you go back to even before PulseChain existed and before even the sacrifice happened, and Richard Hart was talking about it, one of the key talking points that he had was that PulseChain is being built to make Hex better, to make a better Hex, so that you don't have to be bottlenecked by Ethereum and the gas fees that it has and their lack of ability to upgrade it. Because remember, back when PulseChain originally was like, the idea was put forward and started being developed, this was back when Ethereum was still on proof of work, if I'm not mistaken. That was before they had the merge or the fork or whatever you want to call it. And then we had the creation of ETH proof of work coin, which ultimately just has done practically nothing. Is worth like singular dollars at this point. But that was also back before then. And it was back before we even had the latest round of gas fee issues where people were having to pay upwards of like, I don't know, $500 just to get like a 1 or 2 year stake out of eHex. So
Yeah, and on top of that, what ETH did, I'm not going to say it was on purpose, but I think it was on purpose. They changed their S load. They did that to make people more inclined to use Ethereum based protocols. But what I mean by Ethereum based, everything on Ethereum based, I mean by protocols launched by them. So it was that supposedly people, God, I have the picture somewhere, but I don't have it on me on the spot. Supposedly in a certain amount of time, that with the way the S load was, you would not even be able to unstake your stake if you wanted to with the S load. So it was a combination of gas and almost the S load being purposely changed to kind of sabotage, not Hex, but just other protocols. And I get it. Ethereum probably wants their money going towards Ethereum. So, I mean, but that's, yeah. If we're talking about price appreciation, I'll go ahead and say what I think is going to happen with the coins, then I'll get y'all's opinion. It's totally dependent on Richard. Richard will be the one to choose which one performs the best. But what I think will happen is I think it'll be PulseX or Hex. And if I'm wrong, cool. I got all of them. But the argument for me for both of those two are, so let's say you had Hex, the OA owned 90%, right? Same thing with PulseX. But what happened when he launched the SAC for Pulse and PulseX? People did not just sacrifice ETH and DAI and USDC. They sacrificed Hex, a lot of Hex of the available supply. So let's say he had 90%, the OA might have sucked up now 95%. So now you have half of the available supply available. Yes, it does inflate, but it's 3.69%. I mean, yeah, that's a good amount. But I mean, Pulse right now, Pulse validators are like 9.5% ish. So it inflates almost a third of what Pulse inflates. So you have less available supply. It inflates a third less, and it's locked up for time periods, a certain amount of them. Now, the argument with PulseX is it's deflationary. So that is what could give it the edge. The buy and burn is going to work really well. Somebody did a long time ago did the math that if Uniswap would have had the same buy and burn mechanism that PulseX had when Uniswap launched, it would have outperformed ETH. Don't know if that's true. That's hearsay, but supposedly it was mathematically proven. But those are my two arguments that I think those two. That's why logically they could outperform. But Richard could just be like, "Yeah, I'm just going to buy Pulse," because he could pull he could pull the pools, the DAI pools, lower all the liquidity, but he could leave the liquidity heavily bonded still to those two coins. He could leave the PulseX pool very, very high in liquidity, and the same thing with Hex, but remove the stables and then buy it strictly through the stable side and pump the price. And therefore Hex and PulseX and Ink will go up with it. So I don't know which one will perform the best. I own all three, but just from like a logical standpoint, I think PulseX and Hex will outperform. I think Hex will perform the best. I don't think Richard at the end of the day wants to hang his hat like, yeah, my best performing coin was a copy of what Vitalik created, or my best performing coin is what fucking whack ass Hayden Adams from Uniswap fucking douchebag created. Like Hex put Uniswap on the map, but he's like, oh no, we don't agree. They're getting sued by the SEC. We're gonna ban them. But like as soon as they get sued by the SEC, they're like, oh man, this is ridiculous. Like talk about being like a hypocrite. But yeah, I think Hex will be the number one performer. That's just me.
I hear you. You got a really good point there when you're talking about the sacrifices accepted Hex as a token for the sacrifice efforts. What that did is it helps reduce supply to a good degree. I'm going to have to look at the actual numbers to determine what amount it actually was and what effect that could have on the supply. But again, like you said, from the ego perspective or the narrative perspective, yeah, I think Richard would want Hex to do the best out of them because it's not the fork of Ethereum and it's not the fork of Uniswap. It is the thing that he made and is tried to make even better. So with that being said, though, going back to that tweet, he has a few points, which is that the difference between Pulse and PulseX is that there is a buy and burn function. The buy and burn function has been talked about a lot when it comes to as a good example or a model for a lot of other coins. And then outside of that, we have incentive token, which me and a bunch of other people are still looking for the actual documentation about where the halving is written into the code on it. I swear I've seen it, or someone at least made a graphic for it themselves, which I saw and then have gaslighted myself into believing. But the idea is that incentive token emission schedule is on a drastically, it has that logarithmic curve to it, which is that over time you're going to get less and less incentive token pushed out. And as a result, it's going to reduce the amount of supply coming out and will affect the relationship between supply and demand curves, aka reducing supply, making the price go up respectively. So when it comes to these ones, the big question that I have is, I think incentive token has a much smaller supply. I think PulseX has possibly the largest supply, because the reason I say that is I think a lot of people missed out on the PulseChain SAC, and then they saw the PulseX SAC as an opportunity to miss out or to get in on what they missed. But then at the same time, a lot of the people that probably sacked for PulseChain also sacked for PulseX. So you're getting PulseChain people doing it again for PulseX, and then all the people that missed out on PulseChain getting in on PulseX. And then Hex is the one that's been around for a while. We had the fork, so that means all copies previously on Ethereum got copied over. And any of the movement that we've had since then, and back in March, we even had the great abandonment of eHex and pHex when Richard Hart resurfaced some videos saying, "Yeah, I think the PulseChain side is going to be worth more." So, it's in my opinion, I think that, God, it pains me to say this a little bit, but I think incentive token might be the one that technically does more X's.
That's fair.
I would love.
Real quick, fellas, is my mic working? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is it this one, the microphone, or is it the camera one?
It's the good mic.
Yeah, when you just hit the mic, it kind of buffered, so I think it's that one.
All right, sweet. Not the US or not the webcam. Excellent. Cool beans. Sorry for the distraction. You were saying, Zenith, that you think that Ink's going to be the best performer? Or that it could be?
Based on all the fundamentals that I just went through. Sorry, Mrs. Producer, can we bring up that comment again?
Yeah, I think Ink gets deflationary. I think it's, I don't know if it's halved exactly, but the whole deflationary process is yearly. I think it happens every year.
True. By the way, this is a comment from our new friend Crypto Khalil. He was on Discourse Syndicate with us on Friday. We had a blast with him. He says, no, the same amount comes out consistently forever, so therefore it's inflating at a lower percentage in relation to its already minted supply. Okay, I see what you're saying. And again, more 1 per second. That sounds about right. I can see that. Again, I need documentation, or we need to actually go data mining and figure it out. But as of right now, the model that I have been operating off of is that there is an annual halving of incentive token rewards payout. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'm more than happy to admit that and adjust my information.
This is my one thing about incentive token. While I do like it and I have some, this is my thing. And this may be way off base, but what if a lot of people have it right now and they've been farming it and farming it and farming it, but then towards the top of the cycle, when they think the cycle's over, will they just take that, pull it out of the pools because there's no point to farm if they think prices are about to drop? They'll take it and then they'll dump it for a coin like PulseChain, for a coin like Hex or PulseX. So maybe it'll appreciate the most the quickest, but in the long run, I wonder if you're going to see massive amounts of ink that was yielded or pulled from pools sold off into other core coins.
Is that what happened in the very beginning?
I
Very
don't
beginning
know.
when PulseChain launched and Ink like fucking shot up to like $80 or some shit. People were selling it like crazy. Like I think that's what happened. I don't know exactly because I don't.
That's not a.
Man, I can barely read my keyboard. There's no way I can read the blockchain.
I wonder if that was just because that might have happened just because, and you might be right, Will. I don't know. Maybe in that aspect, it might just happen because it appreciated so fast. People were like, fuck, easy money. I didn't even sack for this shit and I got it and it appreciated. But I think towards the end of the cycle, when people are pulling farms and they think, oh, well, everybody's going to be pulling farms, therefore less demand for it because people aren't farming it. Therefore, let's dump it into something else. But maybe not.
I think that it's not that much of a phenomenon as people think, which is that this is something you saw in regards to the 9-inch BBC launch, which is that the incentive token is expected to appreciate very fast, very quickly because of the super low supply, and it's going to get distributed relatively quickly due to a new DEX having staking pools, the staking pool yield is calculated by the code and also the amount of people in the pools total. So when something's brand new, obviously it starts at 0, which means that if it starts at 0, the first person to put their money in is going to get a stupid high APY.
Correct.
And then after that, as more people get in, it's going to reduce. So you have the people that get in early are the only ones with coins, so they can kind of set the price a little bit. But at the same time, it's kind of like the looking at the heartbeat, which is that it launches and it spikes up super fast just because of everyone trying to get in, demand for the thing, expectation of appreciation on the incentive token, and then the supply gets released, or enough in a critical mass of people start selling it to the point where the price just craters. So I think you saw it when it came to the BBC stuff. It's no surprise that we saw it with the incentive token stuff. And I'm pretty sure that this is just a repeat of a lot of the other launches that we've seen in the past. So it wasn't a surprise. But what was surprising is that it shot up, is that it did, the incentive token for PulseX did as well as it did initially. Because, yeah, we watched that $80 price come, and it was like, this is wild.
We got some good comments from Crypto Khalil. I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but he's educating at least me on the way that incentive works and its emission rate. Mrs. Producer, if you wouldn't mind bringing it, or actually, shoot, we've got quite a few chats. Hey Zenith, I have a suggestion. Would you like to know what it is?
Let's do it.
My suggestion is go get Comtrain so that way you guys can climb towers and stuff. Just kidding. It's time for chat shout-outs, baby.
But by the way, Centurion 54, we still have the comment start, and we want to get to it right after this. But until then, we do have all the other people to say hello to. Starting off with a good friend of the channel, Kool-Aid nicknamed you the Tooth Slayer on stream on Friday, and I like that one. But regardless, good to see you, Sloth. How you doing, man?
Hell yeah.
All right, up next, we got Brizology. He says, I like it. Good stream, good content. We're glad you're enjoying it, brother. All right, up next, we have, I think this is Colt DeFi, but the U is just a V, so there you go. It says, evening all. Evening to you, sir. And then Dace has a good clip of an explanation I had earlier where I said, it's that yeet. Yeet. Good one. And that we got Khalil says, what's up, brothers? That was when you're checking in, and since then you've been killing it, providing great information. We really appreciate it, dude. After that, we have a good friend of the channel, Farmer Brown, hanging out with us as well. I believe he was also on the effing hangout on Friday for a little bit, so good to see him. Then after that, we got some OGs in the chat. We got Crypto Boogie says, sup, monkeys. And speaking of monkeys, we also got Hex Monkey, aka Hex Monkey 369 on Twitter. Next one, if you don't mind. There it is. Giving us the hand wave and the hello. Much appreciated, my man. Much appreciated. Good to see you as always. After that, we have Chad Donner Schwantz. He says, hello, fellow OA respectors. Good to see you too, my man. Yeah, we're putting some respect on that OA name, trying to understand what it's doing and how it's going to affect all of our lives. All right, up next we have a Crypto Khalil says, this is another thing I've been watching lately. Hex has always had the lowest amount of liquidity, which of course means it can do the most X's easier.
Exactly.
Well said, sir. Well said. After that, we've got Hexkin Lost in Asia. He says, I've watched that video 5 times. This is in regards to the Richard Hart clip that we showed.
Yep.
So I think, what was the name of the...
Who's the dude who was on his thing with him?
I don't remember his name. It's every time the dude talks, Richard just starts calling him out like, "Oh, you know so much about Bitcoin, like you're fucking broke. Like you don't give me advice. Like who the fuck are you?" Dude, it's a really funny video.
I haven't watched that one, but it sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure that I heard it.
The comment directly after that one from Hexkin Lost in Asia says, RH versus Meet Kevin is an amazing interview as well. Well worth a watch. Richard Hart is timeless when he talks to crypto. I don't know if you're saying that the Meet Kevin interview is that one in particular, but if it is, let us know. If not, we're going to have to do some digging and go find that clip.
I watched a good video that day with RH when he interviewed McAfee. I really like McAfee, and I watched it again just for the fun of it while I was getting my hair cut because my barber loves McAfee too, and he's into crypto, and we just watch it. And very two intelligent people talking.
Oh, I would like to see that. I'm gonna have to find that. Jeff, if you have a link to that, would you mind shooting that to me over in Telegram?
Yes, sir, I will.
Thank you so much. Up next, look at this.
Take it away.
We've got 5 fucking smackaroos from Farmer J. Enough of the talk. Show the RH twerking videos already. Mr. Farmer J, this is a motherfucking family-friendly goddamn show, and I'll be damned if we show videos of Richard twerking. Simply
you can
because,
Google those ones pretty easy. I'm not gonna lie.
yes, those are super easy to find. For the folks at home who do not know, Richard Hart made his way onto the Fresh and Fit show, where they have a stripper pole, and they also well, I don't know if that was a twerking video. Actually, now that I think about it, that was a stripping video. So I'm giving the folks at home a little bit too much ideas on what our good friend Richie Rex is doing, but yeah, you guys can go Google that yourselves. Go look at some fun videos. Go look at some fun things. Mr.
sure.
Zenith, do we want to tackle this question from Mr. Kenturian? Is this a good time?
Yes, now is the time to do so. So, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind bringing it up.
I was about to say,
this-
people in the people watching, throw up some questions too. We can hit them up.
For sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Alrighty. So I also have a screen share to go on this one, but if we can leave the comment up for a little bit, that would be perfect as well. So the comment is Bitcoin weak on the weekly close, more blood till July ? What do you guys think of Pulse retesting all-time lows with the OA trying to hold it up? So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the chart. We can share that. That would be perfect.
I'll give you my opinion from a non-TA perspective that I know Richard likes charts, but we haven't started our appreciation yet. So I don't think RH really cares if we go lower. Can we go lower? Absolutely. And I think if we do, I don't think it's gonna matter to Richard. I think he'll just say, okay, cool. And like it'll be awesome. Now instead of my chart doing a 10,000x, we could do a 12,000x. Like, so I don't really think it's super. I don't think it's super relevant to him. Can we go lower? Absolutely. No idea if we will.
For sure. We got the historic data here for PulseChain. Yeah, so what we got is last time we talked about this, I want to say it was actually right around the start of the month when we had this appreciation and a bounce off of this low, which also corresponded as a resistance that got flipped to a support in October and September of 2023 and then retested in December of 2023. And then since then, we've been well above it for a long time before we came back here in late May, early June and hit it, bounced up, and then we came back down, touched it again, and then have broken through at this point. So the question was, are we going back to all-time lows? All-time lows would be this date here back on 27 of August 2023 at a lovely price of 4 zeros and a 3315. So 33% of SAC price right there.
God, I hope so.
I mean, I hope so in the sense that it is more time to load up on PulseChain.
Si, senor.
I would not be surprised if all of us are still continuously doing to this point. But I'll tell you this much personally. The RAG ecosystem is already a very large chunk of my bags, and I'm trying to not get wrecked. And my personal philosophy is try to play it pretty safe and focus on blue chip stuff as a good example of how to get people in the space without going too degen on like meme coins and whatnot. But at the same time, like, yeah, it looks like we've broken through a resistance or a support level, and we're probably going to keep going down. The next one is leftovers of this action in late 2023. So we're looking at pretty much 40% of SAC price, or 4 zeros and a 40, something like that. We'll move this line down right about there. And then after that, the only thing below that is going to be this double bottom that we had over here at about 35% of SAC price. And then other than that, the only other data is from like pre-bridge days almost. So I don't even put too much thought into that because that's super early data. And I mean, besides, look at the other end of those candles are there.
Correct. Yeah, that's right at the launch. A lot of times people don't even consider that the true low.
Yeah, I don't either. Our true low is either, like, what is this, 3 days after the SEC case? Yeah, the 2nd of August, we had a super big wick down to that all-time low area. Reconfirmed it end of August, and then almost made a new low in September, but didn't quite do that. Since then, we've had some decent moves, but yeah, we were looking like we're going back down to that area. This is very rough estimates, so we're looking like at the current trend, we might hit all-time lows end of July. Yeah. The only possible macro calendar dates that I have lined up for then is there's a Federal Reserve meeting that concludes the 31st of July, I want to say. And then other than that, we have July 8th, which is about here, which could line up with the other support level that I talked about, which is 4 zeros and a 4-0 or 40% of sack price. But other than that, right now, I don't see the trend changing, and I don't see much happening to that other than maybe PulseChain getting boosted by Ethereum starting to make a run as well. And Ethereum looks like it could, especially with the ETFs coming out in early July. That could be one of those macro events that could potentially change momentum for the chart. But until we get some big news, the trend looks like it's probably going to be holding.
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
You took the words out of my mouth with the ETH ETF, but I looked at an interesting chart like 2 days ago, and it was showing every Bitcoin halving ever, and it showed what happened 50 days after the halving, and it was like a crab walk, and that's when you started to see some runs actually start. This might be a little different now because you have ETFs involved and stuff, but I think I don't know if we're at 50 days yet. Maybe when was it? April 20th. I think the halving was, so we're probably close to 50 days. So if that chart holds true, we do start getting some pumpamentals on Bitcoin. Then of course, it's tied to ETH will follow, then the ETH ETF. So yeah, if you start seeing those things go up, it's a good chance that PulseChain will reflect the same.
I hear it. One of the other interesting charts I did want to bring up is that in the same system, if we do go over to Hex, P-Hex anyways, we technically are at new all-time lows, specifically on the charts that we have dated to. So yeah, the previous, again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, which is that all-time low in the time was about the 25th of August here, when we dropped down to 55 thousandths of a penny, or pretty much half a penny. Sorry, 55 thousandths of a dollar, aka half a penny. Jeez. Thanks, brain. And then, yeah, since then, I mean, there's a little blip on the radar. But other than that, Hex is kind of in freefall right now. You might have to go look at the eHex charts to see if there's any historical data for that. But at this point, if you just consider Hex or PulseChain Hex as its own chart at this point, yeah, it's in price discovery on the downward side. So we've been keeping a monitor on that. But also, I guess this is a remnants of earlier in the conversation where we were talking about price appreciation. I had previously pegged P-Hex going to $1.50. So I marked it out from all-time lows, and that is about a 280x from current price. So if it does hit $1.50 in this next cycle, that's what we're looking at, in my personal opinion.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, what do you guys think? Or any other PulseChain tokens you want to look at? I do want to pull up the Bitcoin chart and the Ethereum charts and just go over that real quick before we wrap up the evening with a few news articles.
Sounds good to me, man. Hop on into it.
Okie doke. Let's present a different screen. Apologies, Mrs. Producer. I am working you overtime right now. Okay. Oh, wow. We have even more data. So I had this as a point of talking back before we had the daily close, which happened about an hour and 15 minutes ago. We had a new 60-day cycle low with this candle right here when we broke down to about $63,000 on Bitcoin. Again, we've just been in basically this 3-week downslide. And now on today's new daily candle, again, this is based off UTC or Zulu time, or time in Greenwich, England, where the prime meridian is. So that's why it's only like 7 o'clock my time, but it's still technically new data. So we're looking at a new potential 60-day cycle low. Well, this is the lowest we have now. We don't have an indicator of it's going to keep going. We haven't gotten quite to the oversold region on the RSI, or relative strength index, but we are here at what is equivalent to our previous RSI low back on the 1st of May when we had the end of the last 60-day cycle. But until then, the story of this cycle has been we came up to all-time high here on day 20, where we just went above $70,000, almost $72,000. And then we started to come back down and then went back up. And we didn't set a new high for the cycle. We were literally like $500 short, if I'm not mistaken. And since then, yeah, you can either look at it as the day 20 cycle high, or you can maybe even look at it as kind of like a symmetrical cycle thing, because this other potential high here happened on day 37. So with that being said, we're at day 54 right now, going out to typically when we have those 60-day cycle highs earlier than day 30, the overall 60-day cycle comes a few days short, but we're at day 54 right now. And unless we actually confirm this RSI bottom as the same as the other one, then we have the ability to go into the oversold territory. Again, this is on the daily market. But when it comes to the indicators, this is where I think something truly odd is happening. Because if you've been listening to the show for the last month or so, myself and Jay have really been harping on two different indicators. The first one is the 111 daily moving average. The other one is the 20-week moving average. And as you can see on this chart, we have blown right past both of those. So this yellow line here is the 111-day moving average. Traditionally in the bull market, you'll never dip more than 10% below that, which is coming to about where we are now. And then on top of that, 20-week moving average is this magenta line, or the pink one, and we just broke below that. So if you want to zoom out and go to the weekly, yep, there's your 20-week moving average, and we are well below it at this point. So this is a little bit unprecedented for a bull market, but again, this bull market itself is unprecedented because we already had all-time highs. Do I think that this is the left translated cycle and we're already heading to another bear market? Absolutely not. On the time frame, this is not what's going on, in my opinion, and this is more just abnormalities due to traditional finance entering the market through all the Bitcoin ETFs, which are the most profitable ETF launch in human history. I just want to reiterate that. They made stupid amounts of money, and they want to do it again with Ethereum, which, by the way, let's go look at now. The Ethereum chart looks a little bit different than the Bitcoin chart, mainly because we have this giant green God candle on the Monday, the 20th of May. This was actually like 3 or 4 days before we had the Ethereum ETF announcement on Thursday, the 23rd, where we have this really big double-sided green candle. And then since then, Ethereum's actually been holding up a little bit better than Bitcoin, but with this latest move of yesterday and today, we actually saw a decent red candle on Ethereum, and we're looking to come down and test what appears to be a new support level forming at about $33,050. Again, when it comes to the moving average indicators, we are now below the 111-day moving average indicator for Ethereum. It's not as relevant as the Bitcoin one because that is the indicator that part of the Pi cycle top indicator is built off of. But right now, Ethereum is actually starting to bleed a little bit more than we've seen in very recent memory. So could be possible time to have that last call on Ethereum as well before we potentially get the ETFs running live in early July. But as of right now, prices they're not bleeding like crazy, but they're also not going upwards like crazy either. It seems like one last calm before the storm really kicks off, in my personal opinion, especially if we have this 60-day cycle. We maybe only have one more sideways cycle before we really just start going vertical.
Do you think some of that bleeding is because people are manipulating the market so they can, maybe get on the cheap before the ETF goes live?
I think it's entirely possible, but I personally don't have the data to look at what the market manipulation looks like. We can try to look at something like open interest. But look, there's a reason that I have a tinfoil hat on the shelf, and I'm not afraid to walk into that territory and start having some really outside of the box thoughts. But at the same time, I don't have any concrete data or proof that we're having market manipulation right now. But at the same time, I would not be surprised if it is, because traditional finance now has access to these markets, and they have the ability to operate amongst themselves and then also use their funds, aka customer funds, to help facilitate some of these things.
Yeah, true. Kind of like how the price shot up 4 days before the ETF got announced. That's kind of funny to me.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that the people with the most gain and lose on it have access to the information 4 days before the public announcement. What a crazy concept. I mean, I'm going to have to look at better data, but the CoinGlass stuff that I'm looking at right now, it doesn't look anything crazy. Volume for Bitcoin, open interest looks like it's up lately. Ethereum looks like it's up lately as well. Or sorry, volume is. Open interest is remaining pretty flat. Liquidations are pretty low in the last 24 hours. We've had $20 million in liquidations of Bitcoin, $13 million in liquidations on the Ethereum side of things. This is the futures and options market I'm looking at, by the way. But yeah, nothing crazy right now. It seems pretty normal data. The crazy data that we've talked about in the past is like when we have upwards of $100 million in liquidations in a 24-hour period. That's when you actually see some big movement and a lot of pain in the marketplace, mostly.
Sure. Well, look, what's your spitball? Your top for ETH this cycle?
With the ETFs announced, I think like 10.5.
Okay.
That's a pretty safe. That's a very middling thing. I think if you run a little bit hot, which we definitely have the potential to, 12,000 is also very much in the realm of possibility. Once you start talking 15K, I think you're looking at something that might be 2 standard deviations or higher away from the average expected result. But at that point, that is if like we really, really, really run, which it's possible. But at the same time, I think that the way it's going right now, I can't believe I'm saying this because 6 months ago, I would have told you that we might get the Ethereum ETF this cycle. But now we have confirmed getting the Ethereum ETFs this cycle. And I think it's entirely possible that we get a Solana ETF this cycle before all things are said and done. So yeah, we could see. The original theory that I had was that Bitcoin is going to have the ETF pump pretty hard, maybe even do a little bit better than expected this time. And then eventually, due to that, you're going to see people take profits into Ethereum, which also gets the ETF, which then also runs pretty good. So we have a good cycle on both of those. And then after that, we go into the bear market. But now you also have the ability, or what I'm speculating is that you're going to have the ability to have a Solana ETF as well for traditional finance. We're going to get that third transfer of major ETF money before we see all the gains kind of disperse into the rest of the market, and we get like other L1s, the rest of the L2s, maybe some more meme coins, and finally the NFT marketplace is going to come back at a certain point very, very late in the cycle. So that's the broad tapestry that I've been painting for myself and the strategy that I'm trying to build off of it.
I like it.
I don't know, man. I think that the whole ecosystems, the whole cryptocurrency is just going to rally around Litecoin. That's just going to be the thing. That's going to be the one.
I thought that was like a known fact. Like, why are you, water's wet? What else you got for me, Will?
Gotcha.
God damn.
I don't fucking know
way,
what's going to happen. Don't listen to me.
Hex number one in market cap.
Yeah, Mrs. Producer, can we pull up this comment from Large here? He says, I don't think that I have ever heard so much good news in crypto. I'm speculating on 20K Ethereum.
Well, look,
my friend, I tip my hat to you and I say, I hope we get 20K Ethereum. I really do. Because if we do, dude, I'm probably quitting the day job. I'll be honest. At that point, like, that is the level of gains that would be. So I'm all here for it. I agree with you that I don't think I've ever heard as much good news in crypto. But as far as like that top cycle estimate, I don't know if I'm at 20K ETH, but if you have a good justification for it, I would love to hear it. And believe me, I want 20K ETH.
Oh, absolutely. I'm 6 months ago, I was saying between 15 to 20. I'm gonna stick to it. I think I'm not a TA guy. My shit is pure fantasy. So I'm gonna stick with my fantasy and say we're hitting 15. I like the number
Ethereum.
I like the number 15. Yep. $15 Ethereum.
Nice.
You said 15. You said 15.
I'd be able to. I could buy a whole Ethereum at that price.
$15 Hex. I like it, Will. Good idea.
Everything's going to 69,420 at some point. I think I'm the only one actually on the entire show whose Bitcoin price prediction has come true, if I may say so myself. I remember you guys talking about this whole like 120, 150, whatever the hell, $200 Bitcoin, and I'm the only one over here being like, yeah, Bitcoin's going to be 69,420, and here it is. I mean, not right now, but you know, it's been in that zone for a bit. So I'm just saying, sometimes the peanut brain who doesn't know what he's talking about and has no reason for any of the things that he's saying gets things right. A broken clock is right twice a day. So there we go.
I see. Hey, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, we do have some good comments here to bring up. So Large is saying that 18K Ethereum counts as 20K. Yeah, I
girl
agree.
math. Girl math.
A little bit of girl math, but yeah, at the same time, 18K is one of the number targets I've heard regularly as well. But again, I think in my personal opinion, that is the price target for if we run very, very hot. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying there's probably maybe a 5 to 10% chance of it based on standard deviation tables. That's what I'm operating off of when I talk about that kind of stuff. Additionally, from Crypto Khalil, it says, I'd say 15K ETH. So 15K ETH, yeah, that's the hot number that I gave. It's also a pretty popular one that I've seen, especially now that the Ethereum ETFs have been approved. Agreed. And then Khalil has another one saying, so we really think 241K Bitcoin. This is in reference, I believe, to the Richard Hart tweet where he's talking about 241.5K BTC price this cycle. We talked about this one. Shoot, God, that tweet was like 2-3 months ago at this point, I want to say.
It was a while, yeah. Definitely possible. I'm not going to say anything's impossible.
Yeah, it's definitely not impossible. It's at the top of the range, I'll say that much. But at the same time, depending on what's going on in traditional finance and how much people are really doing, or they how much they yeet into it, it's going to determine that. It's possible, but at the same time, I would not be surprised with the rest of the ETFs coming out. We get a little bit of a dispersion in the funding, and we don't quite see Bitcoin run that hot, and we see more things also run hot. Although Large is hitting me with the best point here, which is how many times has Richard Hart been wrong? I'll tell you, I've been wrong more than Richard Hart. That's for damn sure.
We probably don't hear about the times where he's wrong. He probably only talks about the times that he's right because he's a master marketer.
That's what a smart man.
I know
does.
that's what I fucking do,
marketing.
man. I don't tell people about my losses. I only tell people about my wins. I only try and cast the good spells. When I'm in a bad mood, you're sure as fuck not gonna hear me send out a phone call, or if I'm feeling blue, I'm not gonna text you like, oh man, I'm sad. It's like, nah, we only put our best side forward. And like everyone should do that. You guys should not be out there casting bad spells. You should all be talking about the things that you get correct and all the wonderful things, and just ignoring the bad stuff or learning from the bad stuff and moving on. But don't broadcast your losses, you silly gooses. How many times has Richard Hart been wrong? Probably an infinite number, but we don't know about him because he's a good marketer and he knows what he's doing.
That's true, but at the same time, some of the wins that he's gotten publicly have been very large wins. Like when he called the Bitcoin top last time around, I think he's one of the very few people that actually did that, and that's definitely a feather in his cap. But at the same time, it's one price prediction on one day. So, no, I agree with Large on this one. He says, I say he has been right more than wrong. Yeah, I think so. I think Richard Hart really has an intuition, almost a gut feel. You can call it experience, which it probably is, but I think specifically in the marketplace and the crypto marketplace, he has a very good gut instinct on how things are going and where they can go. I mean, if you listen to only the sci-fi book clubs we did, you'd probably think that I think the man is crazy. But no, I think this is the thing that he knows well and that he probably knows best. So when it comes to all the crypto stuff, yeah, I'm going to listen to Richard Hart. But when it comes to some other things, I mean, I might not be starving myself for money anytime soon. Just saying. He
does have $1 billion, so he knows at least $1 billion worth of things. So,
True.
or well, allegedly.
By the way, we do have one more comment. We pulled it up from Nate saying the conservative estimate was 11K and his moonshot is 25K. I could see that. Moonshot is 25K. I'd call it a moonshot for sure, but yeah, conservative estimate of 11. I think you and I are on the same page there, brother. It's pretty similar. By the way, before we move too far off this, I do want to give a final shout out to Boogie and
Twinkie.
Mr. Angry Twinkie. Thank you. Yes, they're doing tacos and kimchi later tonight, so check them out. And as such, I want to give a little attention to some of their favorite projects. So, Illuvium is definitely feeling the Ethereum stuff coming down and is also going down a lot as a result. They broke past the last support level it had at about $70. So, I'm not saying you're going to see $40 Illuvium again. However, it's possible to maybe see the 50s. I think that's a distinct, like mid to low 50s is a distinct possibility at this point, if everything keeps going the way it's going for like another week or so. Other than that, Phantom. The Phantom is another favorite of the boys. This one is actually having a bit different appreciation compared to Ethereum. We have what looks like a new bottom here at about 48 cents, or if you don't want to go off the wick and go off the main bodies of the candles, it's about 53 cents. So in regard to the rest of the chart, yeah, 53 cents lines up with some of the peaks back here in March and April of 2023, and lines up decently with December of 2023 as well. Keep in mind that Phantom does have a lot of the news coming out surrounding the Sonic network upgrade, as well as the Phantom network itself getting an upgrade. But the main news event is the Sonic upgrade, which is going to be 5 times faster than the current network as it is right now.
Which is nuts
la-
because it's already the fastest network there is. From start to finality, everybody says Solana. Incorrect. From start to finality, it is the fastest one. So that's just I love Phantom.
True. I also like Phantom a lot. I like it enough that I'm invested in it, but I don't know it the best out of everything else. It is the reason that I like it is the meme of I'm in it for the tech. I remember through the crypto mindset course, shout out to Charlie and Miguel, they showed a video of one of the Phantom developers giving a speech talking about all the ways that it actually is technically the best. And one of the most interesting things for me is not just does the Phantom virtual machine operate differently than the Ethereum virtual machine, but the way that the blockchain itself stores data is that they found a way to compress the data to like 1/8 of the size of the data stored on the Ethereum blockchain. So part of the reason that they're faster is not just the actual virtual machine they use, but also the way that they do data storage, which allows them to use a more efficient machine even better. So
Yep, that's why I think they're actually applying for a banking license. Like I think Phantom wants their own bank.
That'd be cool as hell.
I could see that. I could see that for sure. There's a lot of Phantom as an ecosystem is it's a good second best to as an intro into actually using all the DeFi applications. I think that Hex and PulseChain has really raised the average IQ of the DeFi user because people have just gotten more repetitions on using all the different products like bridges, exchanges, farming pools, liquidity pools, swaps, NFT marketplaces, GameFi, all the different things. Like people have just gotten a lot of reps on PulseChain with actual decentralized applications. Phantom also does the exact same thing on their chain with Spooky Swap, Boo, Magic Cats, all the different meme coins going on over there. If you want to learn about one of the meme coins that is actually an ETF of meme coins on Phantom, I'm pretty sure that that Boogie is going to be talking about that tonight on his stream. I can't remember what it's called. It's like it's S something. Either way, if you want to know more about that, go check out their stream tonight. Other than that, though, boys, I think it's time to talk about some articles. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. We've got looks like 4 articles. Which one do you want to smash first?
I want to smash first the NVIDIA one.
NVIDIA. That makes sense. It is the #1 article on the little sign-up sheet for the episode.
Yeah. My brother's a big NVIDIA investor, and he is very happy.
Oh yeah, NVIDIA has become the darling of the traditional finance stock world, especially over the last few years. And by the way, if you are one of the people that follows one of the accounts on Twitter that notifies you automatically of any time notable members in Congress, aka the very notorious ones such as Nancy Pelosi, make trades, this is one of the things that's been absolutely blowing up, which is that Nancy Pelosi took out a bunch of long options on NVIDIA, and then with literally within 6 months, the price pretty much 2x'd, I'm pretty sure.
What a strange phenomena.
I know, so odd.
Huh.
Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, I do have the article for screen share when you are ready.
Truthfully, I'm a little bit envious of Mrs. Pelosi's, super duper good luck and
by the numbers,
she's
the greatest trader of our time.
There's another one in Congress. I can't remember. It's a guy. I can't remember his name, but they all talk about Pelosi. Don't talk about him. But there's a guy in Congress who basically does the same thing and is just like stupid rich and never loses a trade.
Greg, if I'm not wrong, there's really, the vast majority of Congress does not lose money in the stock market. But then again, theoretically, you probably shouldn't be losing money in the stock market. But there's 5 or 6 of them that just stand head and shoulders above the rest. Nancy Pelosi is one of them. I got to figure out who the other guy you're talking about is, but I know I've seen the stats before and I know what you're talking about. Okay, so here's the article from Cointelegraph. We have NVIDIA is now the world's most valuable publicly traded company. Graphics processing and AI giant NVIDIA provides roughly 80% of the artificial intelligence chips used in high-end data centers. And then recently they did overtake Microsoft and Apple for a new market capitalization of $3.3 trillion. That is a lot of dollars, I got to say. So with that being said, we also talked about this previously. They did have a stock split recently, a 10-to-1 stock split. So without the stock split, right now, their stock would be trading at over $1,200. As it stands right now, it's about $135, according to the article. There's a few different reasons to do that, just to get involved in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And then after that, article talks about how in the beginning, they pretty much were making graphics cards. And if you remember from the last cycle and what I was talking about earlier in this stream actually, which is back when Ethereum was stuck as proof of work, the number one way to mine Ethereum, graphics cards, baby. Back in the old Android 19 days before we had the switch, Ethereum mining was actually one of the reasons why graphics cards were so scarce, and the demand and the price appreciation was just so ridiculous. The scalping market was wild. And even back then, NVIDIA actually got in trouble for doing some like over-the-counter deals with crypto miners for the brand new 30 series of graphics cards they were releasing, instead of actually putting it out to the retail market. There's pictures of literal shipping containers of the brand new 30 series graphics cards that were going specifically directly to crypto miners. And there was a lot of outrage at the time, specifically in the gaming community, because
oh no!
Oh yeah. So it's
People
funny
with
you
more
say
money
that.
than you, getting cool things you want. Wah, cry some more, you bitch ass gamers.
Back in the day, I used to be really, really big into gaming when I was young. We're talking 20 some years ago. And I would actually build my own computers. And I would, get like my GPU, get my NVIDIA graphics card, and everything. And I remember I can't remember what it was. It was like $100 back then for a graphics card. And then like a year or two later, I went to buy and build another computer, and the graphics card was like triple. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yep. It do be like that sometimes.
Hey,
yeah.
More of the story for all those gamers out there who are sad that their things got expensive. Make more money, you dinguses. Duh. Like, it's such a simple solution. Stop being poor.
Yeah, thank you, Paris Hilton. Have you tried not being poor?
Have you tried?
Correct.
I'm trying right now.
Well,
there we go.
We're fucking trying, boys.
We're gonna make it, or we're gonna die.
Will say, part of the reason for the controversy back at the time, though, was that NVIDIA was specifically taking steps to try to make sure that their cards could not be used for crypto mining, but then immediately people figured out how to jailbreak them and use them for crypto mining. So it was like, oh, wow, real good that did. So it honestly was more of a marketing thing, but also just availability, because like NVIDIA was hyping these cards up for a long, long time, and then a release comes out, no one can get anything, and then you're getting news that the people that the gaming community specifically hates have their hands on them. This is an issue for another time, and I think we've touched on it previously before, but the gaming sector and the crypto sector likes gaming, but gaming does not like crypto.
Correct.
I think a lot of people are very jaded about crypto from the traditional gaming space. Obviously, GameFi is an attempt to kind of like marry the two together, and we've even seen the progression of GameFi over the years, from just like very basic integration to just full on play to earn things, and now we're actually seeing the movement away from play to earn, but actually good gaming titles that utilize crypto for some sort of like back end or a marketplace or NFTized or tokenized ownership of in-game assets, maps, skins, bundles, whatever you name it. So, yeah, but the reason that that we wanted to shout out this article is that it's talking about graphics cards, but we've even moved away from graphics cards to now AI stuff. They are the leading manufacturer of AI chips, and it seems like AI is not going anywhere anytime soon. And if anything, it's just going to be more and more money going into it. So, yeah, does it make sense that NVIDIA has risen to be the number one? Sure does. This isn't a meme stock like back in the day when GameStop cracked the top 100 market cap publicly traded companies, and people were making the memes about like, this person now sitting at the table with the big boys, and everyone being very confused why they're there. Nobody is confused why NVIDIA is where it is right now. The rise makes complete sense, and in my personal opinion, we're only going to see more of it. We're going to get more cowbell.
Hell yeah, bro. Good shit.
Yeah.
I am stoked. It's interesting. Just they mentioned in the article they did the 10-to-1 stock split, and for the folks at home who don't know what that means that like they took one stock that was worth $1,200 and they split it up into 10 stocks that are each worth $120. I think the numbers are different, but like that's the general idea of a stock split. For those of you guys who are not TradFi stunk experts, I was explaining that to my coworker earlier today. While we were hanging out, and we were talking about his NVIDIA purchase of like a couple of years ago, and he's like, "Oh shit, NVIDIA's doing good. Oh snap!" And so he like ran off to go find his Robinhood account. So he might be having a good time right now. We'll see.
True. So I have a question I want to pose to you guys. This is a bit of a personal idea that I've been trying to work on myself and promote. And it's that digital investment is an idea that I've been thinking about as a way of explaining to people how cryptocurrency is a way to invest in digital things, but it's not the only way to do so, which is that now you have the ability to buy the ETFs over the counter through traditional like Robinhood or Fidelity for actual exposure to crypto products. On top of that, there's plenty of other ways to get some sort of exposure to cryptocurrency or the actors inside of the space. Whether you talk about individual companies that do Bitcoin mining, hell, you could just go purchase some stocks of MicroStrategies if you wanted. AKA Michael Saylor's company. And then on top of that, if you wanted to even get involved more on a supply chain level, you could go buy something like NVIDIA, who produces the hardware for a lot of people that do either crypto mining, AI stuff, decentralized AI as part of decentralized physical infrastructure. And if you wanted to not even do cryptocurrency stuff, but to get even more degenerate, you could even go into stuff like NFTs, not just like JPEGs and monkey pictures, but actual tokenized real world assets. So the idea is that cryptocurrency is just one feature of this umbrella term that I'm trying to coin, which is digital investment, which is that it's everything involved in it. It's not just the cryptocurrencies, it's the derivatives of the cryptocurrencies, and it's all the precursors and all the traditional wrap-ups of it, such as the ETFs.
Yep.
Am I crazy on
just
this,
like
or am I
the
just
idea
overselling
of
this?
the idea of like digital investment is not anything new. Like think about the .com freaking like people grabbing domain names, right? Like I remember Valuetainment a couple months ago, they were super stoked that they finally got VT.com. And it's like, they probably had to pay a fuck ton of money to get like 2 letters, www.2letters.com, like whatever that is. So like the idea of digital investing isn't anything new under the sun. This is just a better, faster, like you can own your own stuff sort of thing. So I'm not sure why there's, well, I am sure. I am partially understand why, folks don't want to get into it because a new scary thing, but the concept has been around for the length of time that digital stuff has been around. My coworker earlier today was asking me if I wanted to buy some like digital real estate, and then he went like wandering off to like a Pokemon Go thing, and he was like, I got to get to this place so I can buy this piece of land that earns me like 1.90 of like a penny every second or some shit. And I was like, go do what you want, dude. I'm not gonna buy digital land or something. He was like, yeah, man, I just bought a Walmart or whatever. It's like, oh, cool, bro. Hope it's fun. What was your question though, Zenith? I forgot. I kind of went on a little.
I wanted to get your guys' take on this theory that I'm trying to pose, which is that cryptocurrency is more than just buying tokens, but you can kind of think of it as digital investment. Like, am I just overselling this broad concept?
No.
It's like I'm putting this forward as a way to. The reason that I do it, is partly because I think it's a better way to market it online, especially when you get not shadow banned, but deranked by search algorithms, specifically using the words crypto. But at the same time, if you like crypto but you don't like the volatility, there are ways to be exposed to it with less downside through more traditional assets when you start looking at all the derivative stuff on the stock market side of things. But at the same time, if you're somehow want more volatility and more risk, you can also go more risk on assets. Like you could, if you wanted to, you could do futures and options trading for crypto like a madman, or you could also do the more risky assets like NFTs or meme coins or even smaller market cap stuff.
There's
a
so
long
many
question.
Yeah. I'll try to cover it the best I can. So I think you started with is crypto only viable one option. There's so many since it's still new. Well, I guess it isn't new, but you give it relatively speaking, So as of now, you have everybody, the people who are not educated about it. Okay, cryptocurrency. Oh, it's a currency, internet money. It's becoming so much more than that. It's taking over not just one sector, different sectors, investing sectors. Pretty soon you're going to have real estate contracts, different contracts that will be NFTs because they are non-fungible. You will have less middlemen involved to prevent fraud and things of that nature. Just the other day I was looking at something somebody posted online, and this guy sent this other account. I don't know why, but it was like $17 billion. And it was like, if you would have done that from a traditional bank, it would have taken you a month. The fees would have been like 25 million. Instead, this dude did it, and it took 5 minutes. Like, there's so many. This is still just the beginning. Like, in 20 years from now, like, you're gonna see the craziest shit with crypto that we can't even fathom, like, now, and it's just gonna be like normal everyday nature. Like, you will, I don't even know where to start or where to stop with all the things that will happen in the future. But it's not going away, and people are starting to realize that, and it's going to get more and more and more adopted, just like everything. Just like when people thought the internet was a joke or a cell phone. Oh, I don't need a cell phone. I have a hard line phone in my house. I don't need a cell phone. Yeah, how'd that work out for you? Like, there's so many different aspects that are going to take over. DeFi. You can now, instead of having to own real estate. So everybody thinks real estate's awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's really good. But there's some negatives. Like, if you own real estate, you're not very liquid. Like, say shit hits the fan and you need money. It's not like you can't just go sell $1 million house the next day. It doesn't work like that.
Nope. Absolutely not.
Unless you own NFT house property in Wyoming, there's a Wyoming company that tokenized houses or deeds of property or something like that. Or one of those silly little, like, you can own 1 foot of Scotland and be a lord. Have you guys remember that? Where it's like, buy a foot of grass.
I'm gonna do it.
Something.
I have
titles.
one. I actually, I should
Lord
find
Will.
my certificate. I am Lord Will Stevenson. I actually require I need to change my name. Lord Will Stevenson, Peanut Brain Diamond Hand. I shouldn't have derailed the conversation like that. What is it you were saying?
I think I found a better way to rephrase the question, which is it worth trying to rebrand crypto investment as digital investment as a way to appeal to more people or circumvent gatekeepers and filtering? Is it worth trying to do the rebrand, or should we just double down on crypto?
It's worth trying to convince people, no matter how you do it, by any means necessary.
That's
if you have to do it with a gun, bang bang, hey, buy this crypto, or else I'll squirt you with this water pistol, as Sami would say. Or you could be like, hey, buy this crypto or you're going to starve to death because the government's printing all the money out of existence. Or you could say, buy this crypto because you want to be rich and have lots of boats and houses and women and things. Or, buy this crypto because you're a degenerate and you like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Whatever it takes to convince people. That would be that message right there, having that in your back pocket. If you're having a conversation with some sort of person who's stuck in between the millennial and the boomer generation, where they understand, like, the .com bubble, and they also understand, like, Warren Buffett investment strategies and things, and, like, there's going to be a new thing coming out. Like, having that little thing in your pocket, be like, oh, by the way, this is one more, like, bridge of similarity in between old thing that and new thing that you don't. Like, having that on hand in the middle of discussion, nothing wrong with that.
Sure. It's gonna take time, and it's gonna take application. But as far as changing it, no, I think you it is what it is, and it's pretty easily explained. And I've been trying to talk to my parents about it for a while, and I feel like my dad, this is the thing that kind of worries me. My dad is, like, hyper intelligent, very, like, one of the smartest people I've ever met. I'm not saying it's because he's my dad. Like, I don't give a shit. He's just very fucking intelligent. He's just one of those people that's really smart. And the first couple of times I explained it to him, he didn't really get it. I'm like, well, if he can't get it, like, shit. So. But over time, that's the whole boomer generation. Over time, you're going to see all this wealth transfer, and that wealth will transfer to people who are more technologically sound. So over time, you will see the adoption. So I think it's just a whole time aspect, like, good things don't happen overnight. And I think over time it will, especially now with Wall Street getting involved, that will greatly accelerate the process.
Most definitely. Agreed. I unfortunately think that crypto itself has gotten a bit of a stigma attached to it, and I think that's largely due to a narrative that's been driven by either traditional finance or whatever the current establishment stuff is, which is that this is new money designed to unseat the US dollar potentially, or at least pose some sort of a risk to it. therefore it kind of became a de facto enemy. And I think it still continues to this day. Like when you see Gary Gensler get up there and talk about how crime is synonymous with crypto, and how it's only scammers and fraudsters and there's no regulation and it's only people trying to break the law. It's like, it's that kind of stuff where it's like, you guys clearly don't like this.
It's so ridiculous. Like the US dollar is used to fund more wars and kill more people than any other currency on the planet. But like, you know, you have Elizabeth Warren. Oh, crypto is bad, but she's all about the US dollar.
Yeah, the number one tool to facilitate black market deals is either the $20 bill or the $100 bill.
Cash.
Provided by the good old United States government.
Yeah.
Cash is king, and the US dollar internationally, the US dollar is the thing that can get you the farthest.
So why would somebody tell you that this type of currency, cryptocurrency, is nefarious? No, it's all kind of bad actions happen. The US dollar is way better. No. You want to keep using the dollar. Why? Because they have a fuck ton of it. They are not going to, it is not in somebody who is into oil. They are not going to promote Tesla. They are that always look at the backstory. Why is this person promoting it? How much of it do they own? Oh, okay. Well, this person has $10 billion in the bank. Yeah, I guarantee they're not going to like crypto. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, always look at the backstory. People tend to push what is in their best interest. I mean, it's human nature. What you own, that's what you're going to be all for. You're not going to have, so like I said, somebody's on oil. They're not going to be pushing for solar panels.
Yep.
Agreed. I don't think this is tinfoil hat territory, even to suggest this kind of stuff and be like, granted, normies might hit you back with like, oh, you really think there are market forces that are just blatantly ignoring principles to push their stuff for monetary gain? It's like, yeah, I think it's very clear to see, especially in the day and age of independent media and the internet and the access to information that we have. Like Tesla's a great example of this. Tesla has one of the lowest ESG scores, aka environmental, social, and governance scores. Really, the number one electric car manufacturer has a low environmental rating score. Why?
Yeah, the amount of shit all the cobalt they have to mine and destroy the planet in order to make it work.
No, it's not because of that. It's because they hate the founder. They hate Elon Musk. And okay. That's why he has the low ESG score. I'm on board with you, which is that like, it's very naive to believe that just because you put batteries in a car means it's better for the environment. If you are still burning coal to provide electricity, guess what? The electricity still comes from that coal. If you are still mining rare earth materials to make this new influx of batteries, yes, unless you improve all of not just the performance, but the processes of getting those materials. Like seriously, just go Google cobalt mines in somewhere in like Africa or Southeast Asia. It is some of the worst working conditions you can see, and it is some of the most pollutants. It is one of the most pollution creating processes that there is. Like we're literally trying to rip the rare earth materials out of the earth. In some places, they use literal child labor. In places with terrible worker safety, and also the processes they use are very inefficient. And the tools and systems they use also use fossil fuels and everything that I'm losing track on this one. They use fossil fuels in all the processes that the current environmental hegemony is trying to push as bad, which is you say that using cars and diesel is bad, but we have to use the cars and diesel materials and systems to go get the stuff to make the electric cars.
Sure. And I bet the people that are saying, oh, no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad to farm the materials from the earth. They probably are heavily invested. It's like I said, it's always a self-serving bias. Like if I was a carpet installer, I'm not going to advise somebody to do tile floors. I will say, I think you should do carpet floors. You're not going to say, ooh, tile was much better at stain proof. You can say, no, if you slip and fall on tile, it's going to hurt. If you fall on carpet, it's not as bad.
Trade-offs, my man. Everything in life is trade-offs.
I will say, these children mining this rare earth metals, would they have jobs without these big battery companies? Would they have purpose in life? Come on.
You're right. I mean, that's a valid.
On the bright side, they're employed.
Is someone providing them a job? Yes. Yep. However, at the same time, I'm arguing this from the standpoint of the people that are also arguing that electric cars are good and that gasoline and diesel cars are bad, which is that I'm trying to apply their morals and ethics and their values to the processes that they're trying to promote, but don't want to actively look at, because that would make them feel unhappy.
What? You're trying to point out they're hypocrites.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
okay.
pretty much.
All right.
There you go. Sorry, too many words. Too many words.
That's a lot of words, bro. Come on, I'm Lord Will Stevenson, the peanut brain diamond hand. I need things explained to me, not in these peasant fancy words. I need simple royalty words over here.
Cobalt mining bad.
Yep. I'm gonna go
No,
buy a cobalt mine in Scotland.
Cobalt mining not bad. Just understand, cobalt mining dirty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you get a cobalt mine, I got some kids I can line you up with.
There we go. Perfect. Everybody
There you
wins.
go.
These kids
Employment.
these kids yearn for the mines. We talk about it all the time on stream. Kids, you take them out of the mines, they hop right back in Roblox. They hop right back in Minecraft. The children yearn for the mines.
We're keeping them out of trouble.
Yep. Keep them out of trouble. And
Can't do drugs when you're in the cobalt mines.
We can give them, yeah, exactly. They can't do drugs. We'll give them a little canary. They can take the canary down into the coal mines. They can have fun with the canary. They can go, mine away. I saw a meme earlier. I think it was from Zoolander where he was like dressed as like a sexy miner, and it was like, did you see that same one where it's like, yeah, when the French need their cobalt, what are the kids of the Congo gonna do? And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go mine me some cobalt.
It's such a good movie. It's such, he tells his dad, he's like, Dad, I got the black lung. He's like, you've been down there for a week. I've been down there for 40 years.
Yep. It's a good movie.
Center for Ants.
Yes. It needs to be at least 3 times as big. Now we can sit here and quote Zoolander all day long. Zenith, pull us back on track, my friend. Where are we at?
For sure. We're coming up on the 2-hour mark. So I got 2 final notes before we go ahead and close it out. I want to pull up one more article. It is one of the ones I talked about in the beginning. It's an update to something we talked about previously. So, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, thank you. You are on top of it tonight. Crypto community backs Tornado Cash devs with $2.3 million legal fund. So Tornado Cash is one of the people that famously made a mixer for crypto stuff. And Uncle Sam did not like that at all. So they have actually sued the creators of Tornado Cash, and it looks like the community has actually backed them, has raised over 654 Ethereum worth $2.3 million at the time of publishing to support these guys.
The founder's in jail, right?
I want to say
one of them is.
Yeah,
one of them was waiting extradition. Oh, hey, look at that. There it is, written right there and underlined. Storm was arrested by the FBI in the same month while Simonov was put on the Treasury Office Foreign Asset Control sanction list. Treasury Office of Foreign Assets Control. The fuck?
Yep. So right now, the charges facing some of the developers are conspiracy to commit money laundering, conspiracy to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business, and conspiracy to violate International Emergency Economic Powers Act. That last one, I'm pretty sure, I want to say it's somehow related to the War Powers Act, or it's one of the multiple national defense bills that was proposed, like you can't sell weapons to foreigners or something.
None of this matters. They're just slapping labels on guy that they say is bad guy, so that way they can charge him with some stuff and throw him in a prison cell. That's like, maybe you're giving them too much credit. Maybe you're giving the exact right amount of credit. Fuck if I know. But I don't have any trust and faith in the legal system.
Well, if my memory serves correct, that this is actually not a U.S. case, but they're actually being sued in a foreign country. I think it's the Dutch court.
That's a different one. So that's for Pertsev. They were talking about for Storm and Romanov, or for Storm and is it Storm and Romanov? Yeah, at the top. So that would might be like, if you want to look at like cross country, cross pollination, free Alexei and Romanov. Free Alexei and Roman on the decentralized. Oh, on Juicebox. Oh, isn't that one of our other Super PAC Juicebox, or is that a different thing?
I think it might be. But the point being is that we wanted to follow up on a story we covered previously. We've forgotten a few of the details, which might be important. But the point is this: Tornado Cash, the founders are not being left out in the open. The community is actually rallying behind them, and they have enough money to arguably mount a good legal defense for whatever it is they're going to try to argue. One of which I'm pretty sure they tried to argue that the money laundering charges are just fatally flawed, was the quote. Yeah. They're fatally flawed and must be dismissed. So that is the news that we have for Tornado Cash. There's still movement over there, and there's still there's willpower and a fight going on.
Yep.
Alrighty. We are down to the last segment before we close it out, boys. And Will, it is time for you to bring up the resource, if you will.
Boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels. It's time for motherfucking chat. Shoutouts.
Chat shoutouts, baby. All right, we got 4 to close out the evening. First up, we got Chris Corrigal. Says, thanks for all you do. Thank you for showing up, brother, and thanks for the support. Always happy to see you here, and we are always trying to provide good information. If we are not doing so, let us know, and we will always strive to do a better. But other than that, I think we've done a pretty good job this episode.
Goddamn right we have.
Sure.
And a little bit of entertainment, too.
For sure. Up next, we got Pot of Gold. I think he's saying fibs.
No,
Okay.
he's saying fuck pounds.
Oh. That makes a lot more sense now.
I don't know what he's saying.
I think that was in reference to the monetary, the fiat discussion earlier.
That could have been it.
True. Alrighty, we have one more from our very own Nate McGettit, aka the Ascending Man. It says, saying 2K ILV, said it here first. I don't know if you're the first to say it, but you might be the first to say it here publicly. So there you go. Nate's target for this bull run is 2K ILV. So right now, that would be a little short. That'd be about a little more than a 30x from current price if my math is correct. Because 2,000 divided by 60, right. 200 divided by 6. Yeah, it's a little. It might be a little under a 30x because the 30x from 60 would be 240. So 200.
Well, a 10x would be 400.
You are,
yeah, sorry.
You are close enough, my friend.
It's somewhere between like 3.33x to 35x. If my brain is working properly, which it might not
folks
be.
Get the general idea. The general idea is always
money go up.
Money go up.
True. It's the 80% solution, Will.
Exactly.
Alrighty, last but not least, for the evening, we have longtime friend of the channel and also OG Moonganger, Funk Master Hexen. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to you, sir. This is the last bit of coffee I got. But regardless, cheers, mate.
Let's throw ya.
All right, boys, that is what we got this evening. Zenith, how high do you think EHEX will go? I think there will be a combined minimum. This is my safe take, which is that I think the combined Hex EHEX price is going to hit about $2.50. And based on the current split, I think that's going to be about $2 for PulseChain Hex and about 50 cents for EHEX. If it stays at the ratio it does right now, there's certain things that can affect that ratio in the future, namely whether or not Ethereum ever fixes the gas fees, which if they do, EHEX is primed to have a strong comeback, especially considering if we can get EHEX back to that place where it is a good and viable source for a staking ladder. Ethereum is where there's a lot more people on Ethereum than there are on PulseChain, which means that everyone that's already in PulseChain probably owns Hex, but I guarantee you, the vast majority of people on Ethereum do not own Hex. So if we can get that back to a very viable product as a DeFi product, not just a token on its own, but a DeFi product, I think you're going to see some great gains on EHEX.
Kick ass.
Not a problem, Tam Tam. Always happy to field questions. And thanks again for coming. You are the best cheerleader in the space. Not just the PulseChain space or the Hex space, but I genuinely think you're one of the best cheerleaders in the entire crypto space. Alrighty, gentlemen, that is what we got. I'm going to kick it over to Jeff. Jeff, brother, what do you got going on in the near future, and where can the people find you?
Most of the time I'm in our Telegram. You can find me also on Twitter, ApexHex369. Yeah, a lot of time in the Telegram room, and right now I'm still working on some stuff for the course that we've talked about, doing research, putting together paperwork. Besides that, just spitting out hopium as far as the PulseChain ecosystem goes, and hoping the rocket takes off, we all get rich. Just leave y'all with some hopium. Let's see right now. What can I give y'all real quick? Okay, we got Hex liquidity. We're at 17 mil, half of 17 mil, that's what, 8.5 million. So that times 10 is 85 million. That's 10, so 100x. So $85 million right now gives you 100x on your PHEX. 85 mil. I know a billionaire with 85 mil.
Makes sense. Alrighty, that's where you can find Jeff, aka Apex Hex. By the way, if you're trying to reach him in the Telegram, you can do so through the new QR code that we have down there, with the fancy DJ Roundtable logo in the center of it. That's right, we fixed the QR code. Access to the Telegram is now easy, but it's always been easy, especially if you went to, Will, what's the bit.ly? Is it still degenerate_roundtable, or is it DRT join now?
.ly/degenerate roundtable. No longer any underscore. The old link doesn't work because something about the invite thing expired, and so the bit.ly just forwarded you to the invite link. This new invite link is bit.ly/degenerate roundtable. No underscore, just degenerate roundtable, fully spelled out.
There you go. By the way, Lord Will Stevenson, where can the people find you?
The folks can find me at will.pls.fyi. That's where all of my socials are linked. Other than that, you guys can find me in the DGen Roundtable Telegram. Make sure if you have a message for me that you tag me or that you at me or something like that so I see it, because otherwise I probably won't see it. I'm a busy guy. Mr. Zenith,
Fair enough.
where can the folks find you?
Folks at home, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ZenithDI for all of my personal branding stuff. And if you want some memes and a little bit of edutainment, check out Hexaco Space Force on all those and YouTube. There's a few videos that are a bit of too much of a shit post for the DRT stuff to slap the official logo on, but I'm not afraid to make weird content for the internet, so that's where you can find that. Other than that, this has been an excellent episode. We always love streaming with Jeff, and I think we brought some really good sauce today talking about the OA analysis, tracking that wallet, and then also the Richard Hart clip. I really like that one, trying to discuss the idea of, is the L1 the most valuable thing, or is the valuable things on the L1 more valuable? I think we came to the conclusion at the end of the day that the other things on the L1 are more valuable. Will, what you got, brother?
We want to say hi to our good friend Russ. We forgot to star your chat, broski, but we see you. Hello, Russ. Thank you for joining us. It has indeed been a great show. And also, Zenith, I had forgot to mention that I'm going to be covering Sci-Fi Chapter 10 for this week's book club on Friday. So for those of you guys who want to participate in book club or want to read along or follow or just know what we're talking about, we are covering Sci-Fi Chapter 10 Longevity. So that's what we're covering on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. Same time, same place. We'll see y'all then. Mr. Zenith, take us away, bro.
Will do. So, folks at home, we know that time is your most valuable resource, and we thank you every time that you come and spend it with us. We're trying to stack knowledge, stack gains, but until next time, we hope that everyone's out there degens responsibly.